So I want to talk to you a little bit about Ilhan Omar because, when I saw somebody spraying something on Ilhan Omar, I immediately thought, boy, this got to freak her out, honestly, because in her country, in some Muslim countries, in some Muslim communities, that happens to women, and they spray battery acid on their face, and then their face is melted off. And I thought, wow, that could be really, she must be concerned because she knows in Muslim communities, some people do that. But that's not what this was. This was some guy who looked like Fred Flintstone that took a syringe and filled it with, are you ready? This is horrible. Filled it with apple cider vinegar. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Stu, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that can stain a nice sweater like that. It can leave a mark.
We should be clear. We do not have any evidence of this particular apple cider vinegar attack staining that sweatshirt or discoloring the stripes. But that is a possibility, and that is the main thing we need to talk about today. Her bravery in being able to incredibly get through a moment like that. I think we have to stand here in awe and just appreciate her.
Hero is what comes to mind.
Now, I agree, Glenn. Like, legitimately, when I first saw that, we didn't know what the liquid was. It could have been really dangerous. I'm not minimizing like that. It could have been scary for her. She is a divisive figure. Acid. It could have been something terrible, right? It could have been horrible.
Yeah.
And the person who did it looks completely insane and on something to me in the video. Like, just looks completely crazy. A crazy person charges you, gets close to any public figure. There is the possibility that it turns into something really, really bad.
Horrible.
That being said, when typically we find out it wasn't something bad, the story pretty much goes away. I could give you dozens of examples of conservatives getting hit in the face with a pie. A conservative being glitter bombed, right? These things happen all the time. And when they are happening, there is real risk to that person. It could have gone much better. When you have a person who hates you that much to run up to you and be that close to you, it could have gone in a very ugly direction. When we find out that it didn't, it is a quick incident that goes away almost immediately with no additional coverage. Not the case with Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, the next day after this incident, was the top story at the New York Times all day long. All day. The top story at the New York Times. And the story, which is called Attack on Ilhan Omar, follows years of Trump's targeting her. That is what the headline of the story is. And I looked all around here, Glenn. Not analysis. This is a news story. A news story. It's by Annie Carney, reporting from Washington. As President Trump riled up a rally crowd on Tuesday night describing immigrants bent on harming and killing Americans, he singled out one person in particular, Ilhan Omar. The crowd booed. They recognized the name of the Democratic Congresswoman from Minnesota, whom the president has demonized and dehumanized for years with racist and xenophobic attacks.
I can't take it. No, I can't take it. Because all I can think of is what they're doing to the ICE. Every single member of ICE right now.
Right.
I can't. My head will explode.
100%. Like they are demonizing these people. They're calling them Nazis every single day on television.
Every day. Saying, get them. I hope your wife dies. I'll kill your family. Mm-hmm. All of these things.
But that's not worth
Trump
coverage.
has never said anything. And by the way, who was it that suggested recently to go get a syringe and fill it with a paralytic?
We just saw
it.
It
was a nurse on the left who put it on TikTok. This guy didn't fill it with a paralytic. He put apple cider vinegar, thank God. Mm-hmm. But he still had a syringe. Who was the one suggesting get a syringe with a needle and jam it into people's necks with a paralytic? It was a nurse from Virginia.
Now former nurse.
So please.
Mm-hmm. And by the way,
former nurse.
That wasn't covered at all by the media. The next paragraph in this story, though, Glenn, Not long afterward, remember this is about the attacks of Donald Trump and his rally. Not long afterward, at her old event in North Minneapolis, Ms. Omar was attacked by a man who rushed the lectern where she was speaking, spraying her with a strong-smelling liquid. So we should note there is literally no evidence whatsoever that these two things are tied to each other. The fact that he was having a rally at another place in the country while she was having this rally in Minnesota, there's no evidence this man was inspired by Donald Trump. In fact, what he says is stop dividing Minnesotans, which is a weird thing to say if you're super mega MAGA. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he is. Maybe we'll find that out. But there's no evidence that he heard this speech about Ilhan Omar, that he was inspired by anything Trump has ever said about it. It's just listing two things that occurred. One event where Donald Trump mentions Ilhan Omar, and another event where Ms. Omar is having a rally. Now, not focused on there is the rally Omar is having is divisive, is targeting Kristi Noem and saying all sorts of terrible things about Kristi Noem. Now, that's apparently completely okay and a heroic act, while Donald Trump criticizing Omar is the cause for this attack, which is fascinating. I will also note that very recent history, Lee Zeldin was almost stabbed on stage during one of his events. This event occurred in the home state of the New York Times and was barely covered at all. It was covered. It was not the front page top story for 24 straight hours. Now, let me give you a little bit deeper into the story. One more thing here, Glenn.
Well, wait, hang on just a second. Let me just point out, this is ridiculous. With the Lee Zeldin story, was there apple cider vinegar involved?
No, there was a knife.
No. Well, I mean, there's a difference between those two.
It wasn't a syringe with no needle.
One is on the front.
This is like a turkey baster, essentially. What caused the attack on Ilhan, quote unquote, attack on Ilhan Omar. And yes, I get you. If you're Ilhan Omar, you don't know what's happening in that moment. You don't know it's apple cider vinegar. I know a lot of people are talking about maybe she did know, and until we have evidence on that, I'm not going to go down that road. Maybe we'll find that out as well. But it's important to understand. Yeah, sure, she probably was freaked out. But listen to the way that her reaction is described by the New York Times. I remind you, in a news story. This is not like a romance novel that you'd pick up at the airport. This is a New York Times news story about this incident. When she was attacked, Ms. Omar reacted with defiance. She did not cower behind the lectern. She instinctively lunged at the man, attacking her, and insisted on finishing her remarks, even as her security detail and staff tried to persuade her to retreat. She did not cancel other events for the week. She announced she would tour Carmel Mall in Minneapolis on Wednesday and then hold a news conference. In short, Ms. Omar barely flinched. I'm built that way, Ms. Omar said calmly. That is a quote from a news story in the New York Times about, I remind you, a woman who got vinegar on her shirt. How does a civilization with a supposedly free media exist when people are trying to decipher facts from sources like that? I have no idea.
I'm just looking up right now. I'm just looking at the New York Times. I'm trying to find quotes. I'm just looking for quotes from the New York Times and the story on how they describe Donald Trump and his reaction to actually being shot.
Yeah, that's another reminder here.
Because
this is all about how Donald Trump is bad and he's causing all this violence. You do remember him bleeding on stage because a bullet hit him, right? Like, is anybody... I really thought... I didn't really think. I really hoped that after that event, maybe we'd lose this nonsensical hysteria that the right wing is responsible for all the violence in this country. Just because there was... we could give you dozens of examples, which we've done. Yeah, we could prove this case over and over and over again that the leftists have committed many, many violent acts in this country. And, the fact that they, not that the conservatives have never done anything, but the numbers are much, much different. And when you talk about this, we could have done that. But like when you have a big event, a marquee level event, where the president of the United States is almost murdered multiple times as he's running for office, you'd think maybe that would be included in at least a little bit of context here. Hey, the left also shoots Donald Trump, so you can see how he might be a little sensitive on these things. Nothing. It's just how Ilhan Omar, the wearer of vinegar, is the real hero in this tale. It's unbelievable.
Try this. As agents helped him up and escorted him off the stage, he raised his fist, pumped it at the crowd, and mouthed the words, "Fight, fight, fight," which some say was a powerful symbol of his reaction, which some say. Times and other reporters noted after being struck and brought to cover by Secret Service, Trump asked agents to let him get his shoes. Okay, that's
Glenn,
big.
that incident quickly, before you move off of that, I was watching that, of course, as probably everybody was. I happened to be watching it on CNN. I was at a hotel. I was watching it on CNN, and then I was at an airport, which, of course, is the main place where people watch CNN. And I'm watching CNN, and in the moments directly after this, they talked about him standing up and saying, "Fight, fight, fight." And they said they were concerned that it would cause escalation. His words of that incident might be something that would make the right wing get violent. This is a man who just took a bullet on stage. And the fact that he said fight is a concern that the right wing might get violent in this country. It's impossible to overstate the depravity of this nonsense. Come on, look, I was worried for her when this happened. I was nervous. Like, you should never do anything, even if it's silly. You shouldn't run up and throw pie in people's face. You shouldn't throw vinegar on their shirt. But we now know what occurred, which was nothing. Thank God it was nothing, it was nothing.
Here's why I wasn't concerned about that. If there was something bad, it looks like she was taken care of right away. Didn't get on her, or if it did, it got her sweater. If it was something really, really bad, it could have been a real problem.
Yeah.
But they caught the guy. I know the guy is going to be prosecuted. I know the guy is going to go to jail. I know the system will work on that. And I know the system would have worked if she was, in trouble and had some problems. The system would work there. I had no doubt that guy was going to get, caught. And he'll probably, end up spending much more time than anybody who tried to do that to a Republican would spend if they spent any time at all. So I wasn't concerned. And, one of the reasons why I wasn't concerned, and this was my honest reaction, I said this when I first saw it, on radio. Look at her. She's a fighter. It might be because she's from Somalia and grew up in a war zone, but look at her. I mean, she went after this guy. She's not somebody you don't, that you could count out and say, oh, well, she's a softie. She's not a softie. It's Ilhan Omar.